2, the Magnolia Hotshots Pambansang Manok and the TNT Tropang Giga. They start their clash for supremacy in the finals of the PBA Philippine Cup. Game 1 of the Best of 7 Championship Series is on tap at 6 p.m. Now both teams are looking to end title droughts in the Philippine Cup. Magnolia last clinched the All-Filipino Championship during the 2013-2014 season, while TNT, on the other hand, did it the year before. And now joining us for an all-out preview of the PBA Philippine Cup Finals is none other than our basketball analyst, Juan Banal. Let's put him back on the hot seat. Welcome back to the show, brother. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Andre. Excited. The stage is finally set.
Yeah, and your haircut is also finally set. Bagong gupit, ah.
Thank you. The fine gentleman. Shout out.
Oh, yun. Eto na, Juan. TNT versus Magnolia. Best of 7 for the Philippine Cup title. What do you think of this matchup, first and foremost?
Well, I read an article quoting Coach Shot. He was saying that this is like their gift to the Filipinos, and I agree. I believe it's been a long time since I've been really excited of an outcome of the finals. Mm-hmm. Before you can easily predict, like you can see, like if there are specific teams entering the finals, you kind of say, this team's gonna win it all, and so on and so forth. But this time around, it's pretty difficult to predict. And it has a lot to do because of the premise, what the roads that led to where they are. You've got TNT and San Miguel on the other side battling it out in the semis that ended up on a Game 7. And then on the other hand, you've got Magnolia versus Meralco. And Magnolia thought that they could take out Meralco, and then they just came out swinging and extend pa ng konti. And the semis was just, it was full. Parang you had your main course already in the semifinals. And so now you're beginning to think as a fan, what else will this finals have to offer? And equally, teams are so, just so strong and potent and ripe for the picking for this finals. You've got the TNT, which is more of a finesse type of team, like a ballerina. And then you've got Magnolia, that's like brute strength. Para silang nagka-crop their way to the dance floor. It's iba yung dynamics. And that's why you can't predict anything. Anything can end up, resulting to a win of this conference.
Well, I like what you said. I like the analogy. Kinumpare mo yung TNT parang ballerina kasi they're just graceful to watch. Parang finesse. It's like a fluid machine. On the other hand, ito namang Magnolia, talagang laban, bakbakan talaga, bruisers, di ba?
That's right.
Well, TNT managed to beat Magnolia. Tingnan natin yung elimination round meeting nila. 83-76. Panalo ang TNT nun. But this was way back, ang tagal na nito. We can just throw it out of the window, but let's take a look right now. For reference, September 5. Here are the numbers on our screens right now. And in what ways, though, have both these teams have evolved since that matchup, which was more than a month ago?
I would say that this is actually a preview of what we'll be seeing in the entire finals. Okay. And there are two stat lines that I want you to take note of.
Go ahead.
It's the 3-point shooting field goal or 3-point made attempts, baskets, and at the same time also the inside points. Right? TNT shot 10, made 10 3-pointers. Magnolia made 1 out of 15 in that game. Yeah. And then the points in the paint, Magnolia won that by 10 points, right? 38-28. And for sure, that TNT will let it rain, and for sure you will know that Magnolia will pound it inside. But since that last game, TNT, after the 10-1 record, they kind of solidified their legitimacy of dominance, right? After dispatching Ginebra lang naman at saka San Miguel, di ba? So parang these are perennial top teams in the Philippine Cup, right? The All-Filipino Cup. And then on the other hand, you've got Magnolia, right? That just got better and better as as a cohesive team. That each series versus Rain or Shine and versus Meralco was an added firepower. They kind of tightened the loose screws every time they elevated in each round. And so, TNT was 10-1 in the eliminations, but Magnolia has two of the top 3 candidates for best player. So those are, that kind of, they have their own strengths. They've got their own bullets. And it's interesting how they're going to pull the trigger.
Well, one very interesting din yung coaching battle dito sa finals. You got really good defensive-minded coach in Chito Victolero and Chot Reyes, of course. no words to describe. Naubusan na ako ng description kay Chot Reyes because he is Chot Reyes. Let's talk about the battle we're in for this coaching matchup, Chot Reyes versus Chito Victorero.
I would say both are where they are because they built the teams that they ideally envisioned it to be, right? They knew the tools that are needed to make it happen. They have a high level of awareness of each player's roles. And the good thing about this is that the players have bought into the vision of their coach. And you can see it. Diba? So, again, both have rich experiences. You've got Coach Chot who will now try to reclaim his seat in the throne, and you've got naman Coach Chito Victorero trying to define, diba? This is a defining moment for him.
I agree.
He coached against Coach Tim Cone, and now he's going to coach against Coach Chot. And if he beats Coach Chot, then that kind of like without a question, without a doubt, you would say Coach Chito Victorero is a legitimate force to reckon as a head coach. He's part of that conversation already when you talk about good and top tier coaches. Yeah.
I agree with you. It's a battle of two brilliant minds. If Chot Reyes wins, he's like, the man is back. Right? But if Chito wins naman, it's like new blood coming in. Okay, our preview of the PBA Philippine Cup finals between Magnolia and TNT will continue after this short break. We still have with us basketball analyst Juan Banal, and we've been talking about the finals of the PBA Philippine Cup. Juan, you heard Paui's report at the same time. Players and coaches chiming in on what they think, and some of the biggest names in the PBA will see action in this series, which is that's why it's sobrang exciting eh. So let's put the spotlight on these players. First, sa Magnolia Hotshots, and yung one and only, the beast, Calvin Abueva. We've been talking about Calvin all conference long, and Magnolia really does believe he will spell that big difference for them here in this finals, especially since siya lang naman yung main piece na nadagdag from their previous lineups that made it all the way to the finals. Do you believe that Calvin Abueva is the missing piece to solve the puzzle to win an all-Filipino crown?
It's interesting that you asked that question because there are other teams also that try to acquire really top tier players, but they kind of stick out like a sore thumb. They didn't fit the system. So it's not so that kind of makes the point that it's not just about talent. It's not about getting the best players, but do they actually fit? In your system? And I think Calvin Abueva, to answer your question, is that that right piece to the Magnolia puzzle. And his profile, if you look at how he plays, his demeanor, that kind of emulates who Magnolia is, and he was that missing anchor that would instigate the entire, just rub off the entire team. And he fits the Chito Victorero system, the Magnolia style of play. And it's interesting how TNT will match up against him. Who is big and strong and has the right speed to keep up with Calvin Abueva. I mean, if you really look at the lineup of TNT, it's interesting. Will you put on Ryan Reyes? Probably a little shorter. Peruela, maybe a little shorter. Cobuntin, Calvin might be stronger. Rosario might be a little slower. So he will be a problem in this series. And I think Coach Chot Reyes recognizes that. And so expect the TNT plays as a team to defend a Calvin Abueva who constantly moves around the floor, and you really got to put a body on him, put a man on him. But the question is, who will be that guy?
Oh, Calvin really just fits like a glove in this Magnolia team. Sabi nga dati ni Coach Chito Victorero, he has multiple pieces that can go off anytime. Calvin being one of them, obviously. But there's one guy who was a consistent force throughout the conference and especially throughout the semis. He's been a steady anchor for this team. It's been Ian Sangalang. And Ian just does the job. Talaga simple lang eh. He knows his role. He knows what he has to do. Talk about how important Ian Sangalang is to the Hotshots in this finals.
I know, I know we'd like to talk about Magnolia benefiting from the addition of Calvin Abueva, but I personally think Ian Sangalang benefited the most with the addition of Calvin Abueva in the lineup. You have to understand, both these players are number one and number three rather, in the best player of the conference candidate. But I think, because I was observing Ian, because I've seen Ian play even in his college days, even in his younger years. And I know how good he is. But when he entered the PBA, he was mentored by the likes of Mark Fingers and such. But But when he was left on his own now, when he was manning the front line of Magnolia, I really, felt bad for him. There were a lot of inconsistencies because he had to put in so much work. He was the legitimate post player for Magnolia, and every single team would collapse on Ian Sangalang. I would watch games that he would struggle and really get frustrated because he can't get the shots. But with Calvin now in the lineup, there is that extra force in the shaded area. Now, there's nakakagalaw na si Ian more. He wasn't, because before, if he'd like to play outside, he would have to think, if I'm outside, then who's inside getting rebounds? Who's blocking out? But now with Calvin in the lineup, who's equally as active in the inside, in the shaded area, Ian now has more versatility. Set screens, picks and pops, picks his shots from the perimeter because he's now comfortable knowing that there's a Calvin Abueva from the weak side who can get the rebound. And just having Calvin in the lineup allowed Ian Sangalang to really blossom. And so I think he benefited, most in the addition of Calvin Abueva.
I agree. Let's not forget these two were two of the three dun sa Pinatubo trio in San Sebastian. They won an NCAA title years ago. Juan, stay where you are. You will still be with us after this really quick break, and we will still talk more about the PBA Finals, the Philippine Cup between TNT and Magnolia. You're tuned in to Sports Desk only here on CNN Philippines, where we go all out for the day's top sports stories. Stay tuned. And we're still joined by basketball analyst Juan Banal. Juan, bago natin ituloy yung ating usapan and preview of the finals of the Philippine Cup, let's find out first the answer to our quiz question of the day. Time to put Juan on the hot seat again. The question I asked was, a total of 7 players from both TNT and Magnolia were also part of the lineups from when these two teams last won a championship in the PBA Philippine Cup. Who are they? Juan, go.
Bro, nasa-stress talaga ako whenever you ask these questions. But I'll try to give it a go. Okay. I would say Ian Sangalang.
Bigyan ka clue. Tatlo yung sa TNT, 4 naman sa Magnolia. Tatlo sa TNT, 4
Ian
sa
Sangalang,
Magnolia.
Rafi Rivas, Mark Baroka. What I'd like to say, Justin Melton. I'm not so sure. Okay.
4 sa Magnolia.
Okay. Ilan na yun? Okay, so Baroka, Rivas, Melton, and Sangalang.
TNT.
Sa kabila, I would say si Ryan Reyes, Jason Castro, and Kelly Williams.
Daya. May cheat code to
Wala, tinignan ko lang yung lineup. Tinitingnan ko sinang possible.
Okay, fine. The correct answers are for TNT, Jason Castro, Kelly Williams, and Ryan Reyes. And for Magnolia, Mark Baroka, Ian Sangalang, Justin Melton, and Rafi Rivas. Nabanggit nga kanina ni Pawi na Magnolia last clinched the All-Filipino Championship noong 2013-2014 season while TNT did it the year before. So tama ka, Juan. Dapat may prize tong si Juan Banal for today.
Oo, last time wala akong natama eh.
Nakabawi ka naman today, Juan eh. Okay, kanina pinag-usapan natin yung players to watch out for and syempre sa Magnolia. And ngayon, let's shift our focus dun sa TNT. Let's talk about RR Pogoy because RR was basically the barometer for TNT throughout that semi-series against San Miguel. He averaged 23 points dun sa mga wins. Tapos pag natatalo naman sila, just 9 points lang si RR. So eto, yan nakikita natin yung numbers na parang siya talaga yung where RR goes, that's where TNT goes. Well, at least against San Miguel in that semi-finals.
No, I agree because I think the lowest output that he had in that series was 2 points, which was in Game 4. And that resulted to a 26, the biggest loss in that entire series, right? Madami tayong games sa tambakan eh. Pero yung biggest lead was 26 points, which happened in Game 4, and RR had 2 points. Actually, in Game 2, he scored above 20. But the average of the 3 losses brought him down to 9 points because of that 2 points that he scored in Game 4. And in those wins that they had, RR had roughly around an average of 3 made 3-pointers. In those losses, it was just an average of 1 3-point made, and in those 2 losses, he had 0 3-points made. So talk about an outside shooting team with arguably one of your best shooters who isn't making any shots. So that's the impact of RR Pogoy for TNT.
Well, let's talk about this guy naman, who eventually found his stride during the semis. And it's the rookie who doesn't play like a rookie. It's Mikey Williams. And if anything, siya naman yung isa sa mga importanteng nadagdag dito sa TNT as they try to reclaim nga that all-Filipino crown. What does Mikey Williams now bring to this team in his first year in the PBA, and they're in the finals already of the Philippine Cup?
You know, when Ray Parks left the team, there was that big hole to be filled, and the question was, who's going to relieve now Jason Castro from his duties in terms of leading and scoring for the team? You know, but with his addition, with Mikey Williams' addition to the team, I think that has been answered. He's leading. He's the leading scorer of TNT with 16.2 points per game. He's that's his average in the San Miguel. But generally in the conference, he's leading also in assists, 4.4. In minutes played, he's also leading, which is 35 minutes. And Jason Castro now is relegated to just 23.7 minutes for the entire conference. Imagine the help that gives to the TNT lineup, most especially to Jason Castro. And that goes without saying also that Mikey Williams is the fourth player in that race for the best player of the conference. Imagine, he's playing for his first year and he's he's part of that conversation of the top 5. I know Junmar is completing that set with Robert Bolick being the second. But, you know, TNT is a shooting team. You know, they like to shoot and they like to shoot a lot of threes. And imagine Kelly Williams making outside shots already. I think it's just Coach Shot Reyes who can, you know, if he were a playing coach, he'd probably be shooting threes as well. So, but if you have, and because you're a shooting team, you cannot expect that you will always be shooting well every night. Right? There will be nights that you will be shooting poorly. And your hope is that not all your players will be shooting poorly all at the same time. And I think that's what Mikey is actually bringing to the team. You know, he's able to fill in the gaps when RR's not having a good night or Jason's not having a good time. He has been consistent. There will be times that teams will be able to check him. But see, he doesn't just contribute with scoring. I think he's an all-around player for this team. He handles the ball well. So he knows how to fill the gaps. If he's not scoring, he's passing. He's creating. You know, he plays his right role. He's the type of player, like we talked about Calvin being a good fit in Magnolia. I think Mikey is also a good fit in TNT. He's not the type of player that you add onto the team and you have to surround the system around him. He's an impactful player that gels with the system. And that's what he has added in this TNT lineup.
And Mikey is, of course, making a strong case for that Rookie of the Year award as well. Now, let's go down. We have a few minutes left. I want to get your fearless forecast. TNT, Magnolia, how many games? Ilabas mo na, Juan. Go ahead.
I actually shared this already last night in another interview, but I would probably say Magnolia in 6, TNT in 7. I want us to go the distance, okay? So, but I feel like Magnolia in 6, and TNT in 7.
Hindi pwede, isa lang. Magnolia in 6 or TNT in 7?
Oh, I'd like to go TNT in 7. Para mahaba, para masaya lahat ng tao. Masaya yung Christmas.
All right. We'll hold you to that. Maraming salamat, Juan Banal, for joining us again. We owe you a prize from getting all the answers in that quiz question of the day. Again, that was basketball analyst Juan Banal joining us today as a preview for the PBA Finals.